As a professional athlete, the goal of everyone that makes it to that level is to play as long as they possibly can. The longer career they can carve out for themselves becomes a testament to how well they take care of their bodies, with health ultimately being one of the main factors in players retiring. They may want to keep playing for many years, but it's oftentimes not up to them when their careers end, as teams can usually see when a player's body starts to let them down and their ability to produce slows down a bit. It's unfortunate to have to see players hold on to false hope of continuing on when the interest just isn't there, and this brings us to the topic of today's video. Today, we'll be discussing 7 players in particular that have yet to retire and probably aren't planning on retiring in the near future, yet have also likely played their last games in the NBA. Before we get into it though, it turns out about 79% of you watching aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, because not only does it benefit the channel, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now, with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be discussing that we've likely seen the last of in the NBA is Joe Johnson. ISO Joe had a hell of a career, being a 7-time All-Star over the course of his 17-year career. He earned that nickname because of, you guessed it, his ability to isolate his defender and go at them, getting buckets with ease, and it's what became most known for him, possessing a lethal pull-up jumper, a crafty handle, and a smooth ability to get to his spots and convert. At his peak, he was a 25-point-per-game player who got buckets with the best of them, but at this point, his age has caught up with him, and interest from NBA teams has waned. He hasn't played since 2018, and despite trying to make a comeback last season with the Pistons, he was cut and never signed elsewhere, signaling it may be time to hang it up. He's 39 years old now, and there's no shame in Father Time having you beat, because ultimately, he tends to beat everybody, and his illustrious career speaks for himself at this point. The next player we've likely seen the last of in the NBA is Jamal Crawford. Jamal's a multiple-time winner of the Sixth Man of Year award, being one of the best bench players to ever do it, and he went about doing so in electrifying fashion. Not only did he bring solid production into the game when he subbed in, but he did it in a manner that was genuinely fun to watch and easy to root for. He essentially brought street ball to the pros with the moves that he would make. His craftiness was absolutely top tier, his bag of tricks was as deep as anybody's, and he helped some very good teams win games. Unfortunately, he's in a similar situation to Joe Johnson now, where he's 40 years old, and once again, the battle with Father Time is never an easy one. His scoring efficiency fell off a cliff in the last few seasons of his career, and he struggles in the other aspects of the game, so the interest in him at this point has been minimal. He was signed by the Nets during the bubble and played 1 game with them this season, but that may as well have been the last game of his career, signaling the end. The next player we've likely seen the last of is Jeremy Lin. Lin's career got off to just about as blazing hot of a start as humanly possible, coming out of nowhere as an undrafted player to light the league up immediately when the New York Knicks gave him a chance in 2012. Linsanity took the NBA world by storm that year, and he became a near household name, but ever since that season, he's never been able to recapture that glory. This isn't to say he's been a bad player in his career since then, but many thought he had legit star potential after that magical season with the Knicks, when in reality, he was only ever a decent role player at best. He's played 9 seasons in the NBA, last playing in 2019 with the Raptors, and in his time there, he rode the bench as the team won the finals. He spent last season playing in China because no NBA team expressed interest in him, and this year, he is attempting another comeback to the NBA, but if he doesn't get signed to a team this offseason, it might be official that his NBA career is over. The next player who we very well might have seen the last of is Chandler Parsons. Parsons has become one of the most infamous players in the NBA over the last few years, having signed a massive contract back in 2016 with the Grizzlies and then immediately falling off a cliff in terms of production. He struggled with injuries throughout the entirety of his contract. The time he actually did spend on the court brought minimal impact at best to the team, and ultimately he just proved to be a complete complete liability, hurting their cap space. This past season, he got traded to the Atlanta Hawks, but he only played 5 games with them before getting waived by the team. He hasn't been a real player worth including in a rotation since his Dallas Mavericks days 5 seasons ago, and now that he's a free agent with his contract having expired, teams will be very hesitant to give him another chance. The next player that may be at the end of his career is Pau Gasol. Gasol's a surefire Hall of Famer who was Kobe Bryant's right-hand man during their 2009 and 2010 championship seasons. The versatility he brought to the Lakers as a big man helped revolutionize the way the position is played, and his skill set was ahead of its time with how good of a passer he was, along with his ability to score, rebound, and defend. He's had a very successful 18-year career, but he went unsigned for the entirety of this last season, and now being 40 years old and having struggled with his health recently, the odds he makes a return seems to be slim to none. 2 seasons ago, he rode the bench of both the Spurs and the Bucks and only played about 10 minutes per game with a handful of appearances, so it seems like this is the end of the road. The next player who has probably come to the end of the road of his NBA career is Joakim Noah. Noah was a 2-time All-Star and anchored some of the best Chicago Bulls teams in recent years, winning Defensive Player of the Year in his prime and helping the Bulls have some stellar defenses over the last decade. He was never much of a scorer, but his defense obviously impacted the game a ton. He was a very good passer for a big man, and he pulled down rebounds with the best of them. But ever since he left Chicago, he just hasn't looked like himself at his best, and his production has dropped every year since. This year, he only got signed for the games played in the bubble by the Los Angeles Clippers, but he was never really a part of their rotation when it mattered, playing only 5 games with them. He's gotten his paydays, he's gotten a big part of some of the greatest teams of the Bulls' recent history, but now it seems time to hang it up. And finally, the last player we'll be discussing that is likely at the end of the road is Ryan Anderson. Anderson, just a few short seasons ago, was a key piece of the Houston Rockets team that began to shift out to the three-point line more than ever seen before, because Anderson's biggest strength is his ability to shoot the basketball with unlimited range. He seemed like a perfect fit for the modern age because of this, but the reality of the situation is that shooting from big men can only be so valuable if the player can also hold his own on defense and rebound the ball, and Anderson struggled mightily in each of those 2 areas. So he slowly fizzled out of the rotation completely. 2 seasons ago, he played sparingly with Phoenix and Miami, and this season he had a brief return to Houston before getting waived after playing in just 2 games. His value is at an all-time low, and his most realistic option at this point is probably to consider a career overseas. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think of these players at the end of their careers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.